This radio telescope scans the universe for extraterrestrial intelligence. Who or what sent this unexplained signal? Is this image of a face on the surface of Mars a cry for help from a dying planet? Was this woman abducted by aliens and used as a guinea pig for their medical experiments? Mysteries from the files of Arthur C. Clarke, author of 2001 and inventor of the communications satellite. Now in retreat in Sri Lanka, he ponders the riddles of this and other worlds.
I'm helping to launch a new Japanese TV channel. From my back garden, my contribution is being beamed thousands of miles to Japan thanks to tons of satellite equipment crammed on my roof. But it won't stop there. All our radio and TV travels onwards to the far corners of the universe. It's an extraordinary thought that intelligent beings may be watching us out there. But much weirder is the claim that aliens have come to Earth and are abducting human beings for peculiar scientific experiments.
Howard and Connie Menger became famous throughout America after claiming they'd been chosen by aliens who wanted to know more about life on our planet. They say that in the 1950s, the area near their home became an intergalactic meeting place. According to the Mengers, flying saucers brought numerous unearthly visitors who were able to materialize or vanish at will. They even took Howard with them on journeys through the solar system. Ever since, Howard has tried to discover the secrets of their spacecraft in the workshop at his home.
This is a poor, low-grade model of an Earthman who built this trying to simulate what they have. Let me put it this way. This is what you'd call a Model T Ford as compared to their Rolls-Royce. The walls are luminescent. There is a circular panel of men sitting around watching what we call television, but their monitors, they're far beyond us. The women were about 5'6". The men ranged over 6 feet, very similar to us. They all had long hair, mostly blonde. The women were beautiful. They had a glow about them. They were angelic. I keep saying angels because I think they were angels. What made me so sure they were aliens? I think because they came down in a craft unknown to this planet. They cancel out gravity. It's not a jet, it's not gasoline, it's not explosive in any way. It's canceling out gravity. It's an anti-gravity machine. It could even be a time machine. They could be time travelers. They're way ahead of us.
Howard's experiments progressed from launching simple rings to powering model spaceships.
Well, people were saying, how come the ring goes up and comes right back down again? He says, can't you do something to keep it up there and flying around the room? So I did. But the trouble with flying around the room, it would hit you in the head and it's no control, and the first model broke against the ceiling. So I built this and I tethered it down. I had a wooden guide to keep it going where I want it, not where it wants to go. And here's a good example of it going up and staying up. A lot of power there. See, it wants to take this up with it. But I believe within the next 10 years we'll be on Mars and we'll be going other places. There'll be a movable space station. And we'll be getting technology in that would be fantastic to people of today.
Betty Hill claims she and her husband Barney were abducted while driving through New Hampshire in 1961. Her full story was only revealed when she was hypnotized. She said a spacecraft blocked the road in front of them. She and Barney were taken aboard by its crew of aliens.
There was one person there who spoke English in a very limited way, who kept trying to reassure us that no harm was going to come to us. They just wanted to do some simple tests. Both of our exams were very similar in most parts, and that they were very interested in our eyes, ears, nose, throat. They took scrapings of our skin, sample of our hair, and are interested in our feet. Then with me, they did what they called testing my nervous system, and he tried to insert a needle-like instrument into my navel, which he called a pregnancy test, and it caused pain, so they stopped doing it. They did not all look alike. They ranged in height, probably 4 to 5 feet. As far as appearance, they had no hair and no protruding part of the ear. They had large eyes, small nose, thin slit for a mouth. They were all basically dressed alike in a one-piece dark outfit, but some were wearing jackets, but not all of them. Some were wearing caps, but not all of them. If you've been abducted, you know something unusual has happened, you go to the police. Every real abduction I've worked with has gone directly to the police within 5 hours. And not only that, these people who think they've been abducted and haven't, on real abductions, they always take some possession belonging to the person. About 6 weeks after our abduction, Bonnie and I came home one night, and on the kitchen table was a pile of dry leaves and my blue earrings I was wearing that night. So we knew, they knew where we lived.
At Harvard University, psychiatry professor John Mack records and analyzes abduction stories. To help his subjects recall their experiences, he uses hypnosis.
Let your body relax, just sink inside. What particularly worries you?
I'm right on the edge of what I'm going to remember, what I'm going to see, and
what persuaded me that I was dealing with something of extraordinary importance here is the degree to which the experiences or the experiencers share so much in common in what they report has happened to them. And it goes something like this. The person is in their home, bedroom, in a car, in a schoolyard in the case of children. They will hear a humming or experience a very bright light which emanates sometimes from a UFO, which they may see. They feel paralyzed by it. They may see one or more small gray beings with large eyes or more luminous beings. They're shocked by this. They don't believe it. There's a drawing here which was made by one of the people that I've worked with. They're 3.5 to 4 feet tall. They have these large pear-shaped heads, these huge black eyes, which is the most compelling feature. Just little slits for nostrils, tiny hint of a mouth, no ears, no hair. Wearing a single garment, a tunic, communicating telepathically. Inside the ship, they are gazed at by these beings. They are probed with instruments which are very similar among the different abductees, but not similar to any medical surgical tools that we have here on Earth. Skin scrapings taken, eggs taken from the women, sperm from the men. This they report.
Under hypnosis, a British policeman was amazed to find himself recalling a close encounter. Alan Godfrey was on patrol in the small hours of the morning in his police car.
As I came up the road here, I was confronted with this diamond-shaped object, 25 meters wide, 14 meters high, huge thing. The top half of it had dark windows or dark paneling. It extended the full road here. It was hovering about 5 feet off the ground. The bottom half was rotating. There was no noise coming from the object, but the trees were all shaking violently. I was just totally gobsmacked, you know. And the next thing I can remember, there was a blinding white light, just... And I kind of came round again, another 200 metres up the road, actually driving a police car. And at 3/4 of an hour had gone by, you know. So I decided that I would undergo hypnotic regression. And what I'd said under hypnosis absolutely amazed me. I described being taken aboard the craft. The frightening thing, to me anyway, was that I was absolutely terrified of these small creature type things with large heads and black eyes. I described their heads as being of a lamp shape, like a light bulb shape, with these black eyes. People say you can lie under hypnosis. Well, I have no reason to lie. All I wanted, in fact, the only reason I did the hypnotic regression was for the truth. And the truth sometimes very hard to believe.
In Kentucky, Dr. Robert Baker avoids hypnosis when he interviews people who claim they've been abducted. Louise Smith says she and 2 friends felt something strange and frightening had happened to them after a night out.
Just describe what happened.
The women's journey home had taken much longer than they expected.
I felt so dirty. I just felt like I felt dirty, even though I'd taken a bath to go out to eat. And Elaine and Mona said they felt the same way. So I went into the bathroom and I washed. I proceeded to wash my hands and face, and when I did, I burned as if I was just, it was just real hot. The night that it happened, we had called a neighbor of mine over and told him that something had happened and we didn't know what. We saw this thing. We just described we saw this thing. And he said, what thing? And he said, well, since you're all artists, don't say it in front of each other. One go in one room, one into another, and one into another. And you draw what you saw. And when we came back, they were almost identical.
What did you draw? Did you draw it for me?
Yes, I'd be glad to. This will be a rough sketch.
Sure.
What appeared to be hovering over us. This was a bright light here, as if it was silver on top. And then there was small lights of different colors all around this way. All underneath or around the ship, as I call it, the ship.
You have any idea how big did it appear to be?
Well, I'd say as big as a football field. That's the way that I described it.
Just very
huge,
large.
Very
large.
Yes. We didn't know anything what had happened to us until after hypnosis. No, I felt that my head was covered, see, and then something hot just felt like it was flowing over me. And I've lived with the fear ever since that they had made a mold of my face because I could feel this coming off, you know.
Did you see anything?
I kept begging, please let me see something, and that's when I began to get real agitated because I wanted to see where I was at and what was going on. And then when they uncovered my eyes, I remember crying aloud, I don't want to see any more. You know, I saw him, and around me was these little figures that was about 4 to 4.5 feet tall. And they appeared to have like hoods on, but the eyes were very dark and just piercing dark eyes. And their hands weren't fingers like ours. They came down as if to be like, I had described it like a bird. When you take and pull its wing apart, it had little jagged things like this, like wings, you know. But it wasn't. They just flopped around and they were in gray color. It's as real to me today as it was the day of hypnosis when I really discovered what had happened to me. But I got a sense of relief out of it knowing that I was totally under their power. They had me there. I had no way of escape. But they let us go, so that's why I don't have a complete fear of them, because they had every opportunity to keep me or to do whatever they wanted.
As well as questioning Louise about her story, Dr. Baker investigates the field where the women say the spaceship hovered. His report is skeptical.
Well, interestingly enough, when we talk about any alien abduction, the only way that people can get to it and at it is through hypnotic regression, which is the most unreliable procedure that man has ever invented. Because once that you are in this state of high suggestibility, you can't tell the difference between your memory, what really happened, and what you think or imagined happened. I think they had what was called a hypnagogic hallucination. This means that when you get tired and are falling asleep, in the process of falling asleep, you see some very strange things. You see lights coming towards you. Feel like you're being engulfed by a very bright light. You see faces on the walls. You see things coming through the walls at you, and so on.
We should always be wary of stories told under hypnosis, even to researchers with the best of credentials. It's almost impossible to avoid putting ideas into people's heads or to eliminate deeply embedded fantasies. I can give you an example of my own. I have a memory, I think I have a memory, of something that happened at an Air Force base that I was working on during the war. I seem to see a fighter spiraling down and crashing, and the pilot just stepping out casually, unharmed. Now, it's very clear in my mind, but I can't really believe that happened. But now, after all these years, there's no way that I can tell whether it's real or a fantasy.
NASA's Goddard Space Center near Washington is the workplace of a man with a mission. Vincent DiPietro lives and breathes the mysteries of the cosmos.
My main interest and hobby is space. I collect all sorts of data sheets and pictures and whatever I can get my hands on about the planets, specifically about the planet Mars, since I'm so interested in this one place, because we can actually land there. And the more I keep investigating this place, it looks like that at one time it was very Earth-like.
From the day he heard rumors of a face on the Martian landscape, DiPietro was hooked.
I went over to the National Space Science Data Center on Goddard and thumbed through their catalogs of press release photos, and sure enough, found this photo that was labeled HEAD, H-E-A-D. And sure enough, when I looked at it, it did look like a face or head. That's when I became interested. I said, okay, now I've seen the picture myself, give me the data. It looked like a face to me. I mean, if it looks like a face, maybe it is a face. And if it is a face, what put it there? Who put it there? What did it? Was it natural? Was it such a quirk of light that the wind and the whatever climate or weather that was present on Mars have put all these things in a magic wand and created a face? Could it have been that, or could it have been that some outside intervention did this thing of putting a face or carving this thing or whatever? And I just had to know. So that's when I began to go after the scientific data. It's a large object. It's undeniably very large. It's a mile across. We've designed some computer programs to actually take the raw data and make pictures of them and present them on the PC, on the computer. For instance, if we replace some of the pixels in the eye cavity, in the center of the eye cavity, I replaced some of the pixels in the very center with red, and then coming out further with green and then with blue. You can see that there is a definite dome or round shape within the eye cavity, which in my interpretation might resemble something that looks like an eyeball. We have so much evidence that this is not a natural formation. We found teeth in the mouth area. We found a hairline that goes all the way around. We found symmetry of the object. All of these things say that there's too many coincidences. I wish I knew who made this thing, but I don't. I can only speculate. I mean, we're really grasping now for the stars here. The planet, as we know, used to be much different than it is today. It had abundant oxygen, had an atmosphere, had water, it had oceans, it had everything that Earth has. Perhaps the planet was dying, and this may have been a message to anyone who came from afar to let them see that there was someone down here, and please come and help us.
Well, the face on Mars is undoubtedly real. It's recorded on computer tapes and photographic film. But what made this extraordinary formation? The tentacles of alien beings or the vast sandstorms that rage across the Martian desert? Here on Earth, there are countless examples of nature's artistry. My favorite is Point Bernard Shaw, a Canadian island shaped just like the profile of the famous writer. I'm quite certain that the Martian face is just another of nature's little tricks, but I hope I'm wrong. We won't get the final answer until there's a closer survey by orbiting spacecraft, or until men and women set foot on the surface of the red planet.
Every 22 seconds, this radio telescope scans 8 million radio channels at once. It's searching the heavens for signals in the hope that these will help scientists find intelligent life somewhere in the universe. Paul Horowitz could be the man who discovers it.
I'm convinced that there's life out there and that it's probably transmitting to us specifically, perhaps, or just transmitting generally in the galaxy, waiting for civilizations that reach technological maturity to look for the signal, to find it, and to respond on some time scale. I'm convinced that Earth will establish contact through this means, or something similar, sometime. Well, in now almost 10 years of running, we've found definite signs of intelligent life. But that intelligent life happens to be Earth-based. We see many signals each day, each minute, from the multitude of radio transmitters, radars, broadcast stations, and so on Earth. And the major problem in this business is sorting through this thicket of signals, this myriad transmissions of intelligent life on Earth, looking for the one weak signal that's propagated 100 light years from some alien civilization.
In all the years of searching, only one signal has come through the weeding out process. But this tantalizing call from the cosmos was never repeated.
This is some archived data from the 9th to the 11th of September in 1988. This is when the strongest signal of our 5 years of running came in. And I'm going to take this data, sort it by signal strength, and here we see the signal much stronger than all the noise. One isolated strong signal. Let's take a look at what it looked like. And now I'm going to display exactly what's on the screen, complete with graphs. Here's the full 8 million channels. Here's the different display of the 8 million channels showing this very strong spike. A blow up showing nothing but the single strong signal. Any noise nearby is completely suppressed by the strength of that. This signal survived all our culling for the telltales of interference of transmitters, of radars, and all that kind of stuff. We have never once seen one of these signals say hello a second time. We are the first generation, or maybe the second, on Earth that even has the technological capability to engage in this kind of discourse. You couldn't do this 100 years ago. We didn't have radio telescopes. We didn't have microwave receivers. We didn't have computers. We'd have to be crazy not to try. So my feeling is, how can you not do this experiment when the contact with an extraterrestrial civilization will be the first bridge across 4 billion years of independent life start and evolution. It'll be the end of Earth's cultural isolation in a very deep sense. It'll be the greatest discovery in the history of mankind.
When a friend of mine became deputy director of the world's most famous intelligence agency, on his very first day in office, he gathered his scientists together and said, "Boys, what's the truth about these flying saucer reports?" And they gave him two answers. One, we're pretty sure there's lots of intelligent life out there in space. Two, we haven't the slightest piece of evidence for its existence. If there really were visitors from outer space, it would be absolutely impossible to cover up such an epoch-making event for more than about 24 hours. Take it from me, unless, of course, you think I'm part of the conspiracy.